the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And we had some late movement, Trey, in between Purdue and Rutgers. I think it's clear that folks maybe don't believe in Rutgers the way that I so desperately want to. And I think I actually painted a pretty optimistic picture of them when I wrote their preview and projection. I have them much higher in my hopefuls category. I actually have them as, I guess, the 13th team in the Big Ten, whereas they're coming in at 16 here, according to the Jimmies and the Joes. They started last year 4-0, and they looked like they had all this momentum in the world, and then a sluggish loss to Nebraska, 14-7. The offense just kind of falls apart. They get blown out by Wisconsin that didn't do that to anybody last year. And they just kind of fell apart. They had one-score losses to UCLA, Illinois, and then lose in a classic in the Rate Bowl to Kansas State. So when I look at the storylines, and Garrett, I'll pitch this to you, number one, Kyle Monagai is not in town anymore. And that seems like the biggest hurdle that Greg Schiano and company have to overcome.
Yeah, that really is going to be the big thing, is how can they get the run game going. It's been such a big part of their offense since he's been there. And, I mean, I was even looking at the numbers. He almost ran for half the yards they passed for last year. So yeah. He's just such a massive part of what they want to do. Obviously, great career, but, all good things must come to an end. Looking at CJ Campbell is kind of the new guy, so hoping that he can, kind of help turn some stuff around and keep things on track there. But I think a lot of this is just going to come down to Callie McManus being able to be the new face of that offense and be able to say, hey, I got some experience, developed a little bit, played a little bit better than I think I expected him to last year. Didn't light the world on fire, but definitely stepped up from his previous stop. He's going to have to find a way to really put these guys over the top and really put these guys in a good position.
Trey, you might have used the Oregon graphic for this one. For those watching on YouTube.
Alphabetical order screwed me there. And also the Big Ten for having 18 teams and making me make 18 of these graphics.
Yes. If you're on YouTube, no, Rutgers did not go 13-1 last season. If you're listening on the podcast side, which so many of you are, we've literally had just an explosion of listeners on Spotify and Apple. Yeah, we have these sweet graphics that Trey has put together for the video previews, but this one unfortunately says that Rutgers went 13-1. Trey, I'll kick it to you.
How can Rutgers go 13-1 this year? Let me tell you.
I was gonna say, I asked in the preview, could Rutgers be dangerous through the air? Athen Callie McManus was a little bit more effective than what we thought. So, I'll give you the last word here. Are they going 13-1 behind AK?
Listen, all jokes aside, I do think this is another team that the talent is much better than what their record will probably be. You see, the correct thing on that graphic is that their over-under is 5.5. Betting odds favor the over. I tend to agree on that. I think this is a bowl team on talent alone, but it's another team that is going to have a really difficult road to get there. I like AK. I like that he has KJ Duff coming back. I like that he has a lot of continuity on the offensive line. I think they have over 100 career starts between the 5 projected starters on the offensive line. So that's something I really like. DJ Jabome on the defensive side, maybe one of the best returning linebackers in the whole Big Ten. So there's a lot of really interesting pieces on this Rutgers team. But, man, you look at their schedule, they draw the top 4 in our listener ranking. So if our listeners know ball, they play all the top 4. They go to Washington on the longest possible conference road trip probably in the country. I haven't done the math on like Stanford, Miami or anything like that, but they have to go to Washington this year. They host Iowa. So it's a tough road to get to 6-6. I think they have to split. They host Iowa and go to Minnesota. I think they have to at least split those to go 6-6 and get to a bowl game. But it's another team, man. It might be Greg Schiano's most talented top to bottom since he's returned to Piscataway. And it's just a shame that the schedule makers are really, really doing them dirty.
No favors for college football's original team. I do like the defense. They've got to replace a ton of production, and there were a couple of guys from the last 2 or 3 seasons that were just kind of synonymous with Rutgers football. And this year they're all gone. But I think Schiano did a good job going to the portal. They get Cam Miller from Penn State in the secondary, Jet Elad from UNLV, Jacoby Henderson comes over from a conference champion in Marshall. And then two of my favorite guys from the Group of Five previews, Bradley Weaver and Eric O'Neill, both join off the edge. So you start to look at some of the pieces, and yeah, I do think out of the teams that we've talked about so far, which is just three, like I said, I think I have Rutgers farther ahead in the rankings, probably in the 12 to 13 range, because I do think that this team can get to a bowl game. Now, to your point, Trey, I can't really tell you where that sixth win is coming from. I can get them to 5-7 and sleep very comfortably at night, but they are going to have a game where they score 35 to 40 points and get contributions, some decent turnovers, I think, from that defensive unit. You mentioned Iowa and Minnesota maybe being the two spots where they've got to find a way to win. I think Washington as well. It's a tough ask going on the road, but Washington, as far as in my rankings, the Huskies and Minnesota are probably the closest to being on upset watch in that game. But we'll see. The Big Ten is
both of those games are on the road, and
know.
that's what's troubling.
I know.
They got to go all the way across the country to Washington. They got to go, to a traditionally tougher place to play in Minnesota.
Yeah, and if Gronowski is slinging the rock for Iowa, I mean that's going to travel as well. We know the defense is going to be ready to go for the Hawkeyes. So if they add an extra element to that offense, we'll talk about them. I believe in 2 episodes. We'll see. Wednesday or Friday, you'll hear about the Hawkeyes. But yeah, Rutgers may be up against it. I am excited about them. I'm bullish on them. I'm officially taking the over. Just kind of set that one and forget it, and we'll see where it ends up.